Live right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh with you. It is a Tuesday night. You know, I've been putting the ear to the streets. Some are saying Game Time Decisions theme song could be song of the summer. That's what I'm hearing. Listen, I don't know about you. That's what I'm hearing. Can't argue with it. A lot to do here over these next 2 hours. More breaking NFL news that we will hit in just a moment. But a big-time college board headlining the WCC championship game with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. A couple of interesting NBA spots for us to get into. And also the big-time conference tournaments begin. We've got the ACC and the Big 12 starting today. We sent those out on Twitter where I'm rocking. The 3 teams that I bet, 2 in the ACC, 1 in the Big 12, they've not played yet. So the numbers should be steady when we get those to reopen. And then we're going to go through the Big East, the Big 10, the Pac-12, and the SEC with Coach James Young tonight. Some outright options, teams that are just going to win it, and potentially big numbers that we can do some damage off of as everything starts to unfold. Tom Vecchio, Joe Madden will be here throughout the show as well to help us with tonight's NHL card. A lot of good games for us to go through. Let's start, though, with that NFL breaking news, and Derrick Henry finds a home. I mean, it's a running backs world all of a sudden. It's all these big-name running backs that are getting signed here, and it is understandable because these guys are talented. They're going to get your fan base excited, and for the most part, the money has not been too overwhelming, and that's the case here with Derrick Henry to Baltimore. You know, they didn't have to pay that Saquon Barkley price tag that the Philadelphia Eagles ultimately had to send forward to bring in Saquon. This number's, I mean, really, it's less of a commitment than what the Tennessee Titans gave to Tony Pollard in an attempt to replace Derrick Henry. For the Ravens, who, as long as Lamar Jackson is there, will have a lethal run game, they now add a completely different dynamic to the ground. We'll see how that plays out. This is an odds mover type of situation. We'll bring the radio audience into the fold at Sirius XM channel 159. Kevin Walsh with you right here on SportsGrid. It's Game Time Decisions. Here's a market. We're not there yet. Derrick Henry's season-long rushing touchdowns. Derrick Henry will lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Maybe Offensive Player of the Year. Gus Edwards found the end zone double-digit times. Lamar, during the regular season, was not, pushing for the end zone overwhelmingly. And with Derrick Henry there, I think that only escalates. A 15, 16 touchdown season is absolutely on the board for Derrick Henry. He just needs to stay healthy, and he's usually pretty good at that. Other AFC North running back news, it's Joe Mixon. Initially released, when Warren Sharp, who of course does great work with us here at SportsGrid, tweeted out, the Bengals kind of did Joe Mixon dirty, where they waited, signed Zach Moss, then released Joe Mixon. It ended up going a different way, where they pulled back releasing him, however that works, and they've now traded him to the Houston Texans. The Texans, when you look around, the big-name running back market, people thought the Texans would be the team. They would have the cap space for it, and they've, of course, got the young rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud on that favorable deal. Saquon, Derrick Henry, maybe even Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs. No, they end up with Joe Mixon in a trade. It's a fine move. It's not an overwhelmingly exciting move, though, in Houston. This team still has a lot of money on the table. We'll see how they make use of it here. And then Aaron Jones goes to Minnesota, which is one of the 2 marquee moves made by the Vikings. To bring in Aaron Jones, there was going to be some excitement there. When they moved on from Dalvin Cook, people thought Alexander Madison could step into that role. He couldn't. He struggled. Aaron Jones is in a nice situation with a great offensive coordinator in Kevin O'Connell. But this team also brought in Sam Darnold. What are we doing, huh? We're still doing this, really. All right, that's interesting. Here's the reality on the Sam Darnold deal, because who cares? Minnesota is going to look to draft, right? Minnesota is going to either be bad. That's fine. That's another team out of the Justin Fields sweepstakes. This is now the looming question in the NFL. What is next for Justin Fields? Because it does not look like the Bears are going to get anywhere near the value that they probably had hoped for in that market. And could Justin Fields end up a backup quarterback in Chicago or elsewhere? I mean, it is absolutely on the board that is how this plays out for Justin Fields. Time will tell, but that Minnesota news only confirms that the Justin Fields landing spots at the moment are completely barren. Let's get to tonight's slate. We'll open it up here. We'll start with your college basketball board. Oh, is that a little Manhattan Iona? Go Gales, baby. That's what we're talking about. The other Gales are in action tonight, and that is Gonzaga-St. Mary's. That is the biggest game on the board here. Last night, San Francisco against Gonzaga, catching the 9 was the best bet. And we looked great early. We looked great. I mean, it looked like, because that's a late start, maybe I'll go to bed and I'll wake up and we'll talk about all the money we made off San Francisco. Gonzaga had other plans. Gonzaga had other plans. I mean, offensively just dominated San Francisco over the final 22 minutes of that basketball game. It was so impressive. And it was so impressive that I had to back off of this game. I liked St. Mary's before the tournament began. I fully expected them to play Gonzaga. I thought there was a world the Dons could upset them, but I expected them to play Gonzaga. That 3.5 number is good by me. Gonzaga was so good last night. So focused, so dialed, so locked in. I'm just backing off of the game. I think the Gales can get it done of St. Mary's, but Gonzaga, man, I mean, look, there's no more conversation. Are they in the tournament? The question now is, will this committee do a favor to these 1 seeds and make sure that Gonzaga is not in the 8-9 game? Because you get a 1 seed, and then the next game, you're playing one of the 15 best teams in college basketball. Make no bones about it. That's what Gonzaga is. That is the top 15 team in the country. That is a top 5 offense in college basketball. You know it now. There's no questions about it. So we'll see ultimately where it lands for Gonzaga. A win here would certainly help get them up to a 7-6 seed, even possibly. Let's keep zooming through it all here. Again, there is quite a bit for us to get to on tonight's slate, the number 1 seeds for these big-time tournaments. UConn, -150. Shortest number I saw was -135. The Boilermakers sitting at +100. Your biggest favorite at a lot of books is Arizona. I know it's the same number here you're seeing on UConn. Other books we're seeing -160. And then the Vols here at a +175. Probably the best number you could find on Tennessee is that +175 price. We'll see how they've handled Auburn, Kentucky, and Bama, getting a lot of respect in that market as well. NBA slate tonight, Tyrese Maxey back for Philadelphia. Celtics shorthanded in Salt Lake against the Utah Jazz. Big games late night. Milwaukee laying 1 in Sacramento. Minnesota, LA. Hard to get involved. We're 4 hours out. We have no idea who's playing. Questionable tags, Gobert, Kawhi, PG. Typical NBA. We're used to it. But it's hard to get involved with the game confidently. That's all good. And then I think we'll pop up maybe tonight's NHL slate here. We've got a quick pick. We've got 3 NBA selections to give the people tonight. So we've got a lot that we're going to be able to get to here. Rags in action against Carolina. A good one between Colorado and Calgary. How does Connor Bedard bounce back off that 2-goal performance? You know what? No quick pick. We're going to go with a long one. Next here with the card on Game Time Decisions.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fast man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. Back to you right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh with you. It is a Tuesday night on Game Time Decisions. We've got 3 NBA picks. The College Board is live already. We've had some major results in from the big tournaments. The Big 12, both favorites, Cincinnati and UCF, handled their business. The Golden Knights did cover. Not the same luck for the Bearcats. West Virginia hung inside that number. Notre Dame covers a very small number in their victory over Georgia Tech as well. It was a big lead early for this team, but Georgia Tech made a run. They were not able to close the door. The day started actually with overtime in the A-10 tournament between Fordham and Davidson. The dog Fordham tied that game up basically at the buzzer and then won it in OT. NC State's battling right now with Louisville. That was a double-digit line. Vermont looking to punch their ticket to the final of the American East Conference Tournament Championship. They are the best team. They're 15-1 on the season in the American East, so they should be able to handle their business there. They're the best team by far. We'll see what happens in that UMass Lowell-Bryant game. Look was Bryant. Ultimately didn't play it. The College Board just, it didn't speak to me in the same way that I was hoping it would. If you want leans, South Dakota State, laying the 9.5. St. Mary's taking the 3.5 as well. The big thing tonight, if you've been with me for a lot of these conference tournament outrights, is Oakland. A pre-tournament plus 300, booked as a 4.5-point favorite here against Milwaukee. Look, that is a short enough number that I'm going to be letting that go, certainly here against the 6th-seeded Panthers. That was a team that I know some felt were dangerous heading into this tournament. They've proved that to be true, but I'm going to trust Oakland can get the job done here. Tried to fade Milwaukee last night, too, with the Norths. It didn't work out. It's all good. All right, let's make it happen. The NBA quick pick is also my favorite NBA bet on the board tonight. That's Chet Holmgren of the Oklahoma City Thunder over 3.5 first quarter points. And we have seen him miss this in 2 consecutive games, and he has only missed it in 3 straight once in his NBA career. An absolute rarity. I believe it was 5-1 overall in the bounce back spot this season. And it is even better because he has 2 straight single-digit scoring games. Prior to this, I believe it was 4 or 5 in a row he had gone over this prop. So now you're at home playing a bad Pacers defense, and one of your top guys has not been able to get going. That's touches early. That's a guy like Chet Holmgren saying, I got to get going early. I think he's well through this. There are no alts that I saw available, and I'll keep looking because I think there could be some juice there. But This number, I got the minus 130 available. I believe that was on DK. It was on DK. I know that for a fact. The minus 146 number is where you're at on FanDuel. Obviously, you want to get the best of the market there. But Chet Holmgren, I think you're looking at 6-8 points here, between 6 and 8, really, in this opening quarter. I think he comes out firing against Indiana. I'm going to grab the Sixers plus 6.5. I think this is a ridiculous number, quite frankly. So the one thing, if anything, was going to scare me is the Knicks have been good against the spread off of a loss this season. But these teams just played, and the number was 7.5. The Knicks bring back OG Anunoby. The Sixers bring back Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is certainly a point better than OG Anunoby. And this number was high to begin with. We saw that when they just played, and Philly won outright for the first time all year in a game that Embiid and Tyrese Maxey were missing. So I think the 6.5 is too high, and I don't think it's going to be easy to cover when you can't score the basketball. So I know some folks are going to look to play the over here to bounce back spot, right? These teams just played the first game since 2016 where neither side hit 80 points. A disgrace of an NBA game. 79-73 final. Ugh. Here's the thing, though. For the Knicks, this has been commonplace. Since the Julius Randle injury, they score less than 105 points per game. No good. That's 18 games. Since the All-Star break, 9-game sample size. I know it's not an 82, but it's a decent sample size. They're averaging on 99.3 points per game, the Knicks. Not under 100. What year is it? What is Tom Thibodeau doing? So you're not covering 6.5, scoring 95 points. That's not happening. That's not happening. So I like the Sixers plus the 6.5. And then I'm going to play, Jason Tatum. I don't know, man. Listen, I have free will. I should stop betting Jason Tatum. I know that. I know that tonight, what's this game start? 9 at 10:45. I'll be complaining about him having 35 points with 2 rebounds and 2 assists. I know that. But I can't. I have to still play the value. 14.5 rebounds plus assists. It's a plus price, and it is a great shot. No Jaylen Brown tonight. 5 games this season for Tatum without Jaylen Brown. 5-0 to the over on this number. And Kristaps is out. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. 5-0 to this over when Jaylen Brown misses the game and Kristaps is out. There's only one game this season where we saw no Jaylen Brown and Kristaps, I believe it was. And that is why that's not even a huge sample size. So this is only going to get better here. And I'm going to trust Jason Tatum to get over this number tonight against the Utah Jazz. Derek White is going to be a look for a lot of people. His points prop's been climbing. 20-plus points in 4 out of the 5 games this season that he's played without Jaylen Brown. Elsewhere in the association, Washington's a road favorite. Stop it. I'm not betting that game, but obviously bet Memphis if you are betting it. Washington road favorite. I mean, you want to talk about selling high. They win in Miami. They overvalue the number. You get Memphis back home. They take this game against the Wizards. In fact, I probably should play that game. I'm not going to. Spurs and Rockets, that number's 3.5. Look, the Spurs are starting to get booked a little bit stronger in the market. That's because Victor Wembanyama is one of the 20 best players in the NBA. And it's hard to... I know what the record looks like, but he's only been getting better, and that's why the numbers are getting shorter. I would actually probably take a look towards Houston, but I'm not on that game. Late night are 2 big ones. Sacramento's flipping to a favorite over the Bucks. I think it's maybe a touch disrespectful, the number. But, Sacramento, while they're sitting there at 36 and 27, this is not Sacramento of last year, right? Overall, they're 17 and 12 at home. It's not like they're wildly dominant in this building. It's just, do you trust Milwaukee enough on the road, right? Smacked at Golden State. The tough loss to the Lakers that LeBron missed. The Clippers game was comeback fashion, so that's kind of the angle there. The big game on this board is Clippers-Timberwolves. And I'd love to give you a pick at a big game, but, every single player who's ever even had all-star consideration appears to be questionable outside of James Harden. It just makes it incredibly difficult. And I know if you look off, their props are up, they're probably going to play, but I just couldn't get there with so much of it up in the air. You can certainly, find action in this game. I know Tom Vecchia, who's going to join us here in 2 minutes, has some juice for this game, which I'm looking forward to getting into. But this is just not one that I love. I'll tell you this. If this game's fully healthy, and that includes Kawhi and Paul George, and this number comes up a bit, 8, I would take Minnesota plus the points. Look, the Timberwolves did, it was 1.5 at Indiana, right? They win that game outright. They ended up getting to overtime against the Cavs. They dropped that game, and then they hung all game with the Lakers, and obviously they ultimately didn't have enough to finish it out. But Gobert missed that game. And the Cavs game was the second leg of a back-to-back. So assuming that Minnesota hasn't enjoyed too much of the LA nightlife, this is a solid spot enough for this team to hang with the Clippers. I do believe that. We'll see if that's how it plays out. But again, tonight's 3 NBA picks are Jason Tatum over 14.5 rebounds plus assists. The Philadelphia 76ers plus 6.5 against the New York Knicks. And then Chet Holmgren and the Thunder game against the Indiana Pacers over 3.5 first quarter points. A lot more for us to get to. Tom Vecchio is going to help us out here, not only going through the NBA slate, but an NHL card that has a lot of options here and a ton in that 7 o'clock window. So we'll break that down for you next right here on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fan. Man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. Live right here on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions. It is a Tuesday night. That means we are in the mix with Tom Vecchio. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing good, yeah. Crazy NBA slate just because there is a lot of injuries across the board.
Yeah.
Full NHL slate, March Madness around the corner. I'm ready to go.
Let's then, and you know, you're really proving the point here that you're ready to go because you've got to pick in the Grizzlies-Wizards game. I mean, that's a guy who's dialed in. That's a guy who's focused. So what do you like in that matchup?
Yeah, this might not be the most exciting game on tonight's slate considering some of the matchups that we do have, especially out west. But, man, Kyle Kuzma is awesome right now for the Wizards. Over 23.5 points. It's at minus 125. The line's moving a little bit throughout the day. The minutes are great. The volume of shots are great. He's over this mark in 4 out of his last 5. He's going up against the Grizzlies. I'm not worried about this matchup. I'm not worried about the Wizards playing defense, which means we should be in for a back-and-forth game. It's like he's actually having a really good end to the season. Really just the season overall. And I just like this spot. I always want to be identifying good lines and good markets, kind of regardless of the game, you know, regardless of, oh, these teams are out of the playoff race, whatever it might be. Like, this is a good spot for Kuzma, and he's been really good for them this year.
We rarely revisit, like, because the Russell Westbrook was such a disaster, regardless of what got traded, that, like, Kuzma almost immediately was a better, more valuable player than Russell Westbrook as soon as he got to Washington. Like, I know Russ in Washington was still doing the triple-double thing, and I know that Kuzma's not wildly efficient, but Kuzma, if he was on the Lakers, I don't know, he probably would have won like a 6th man of the year by now because he would have gladly accepted that role, averaged 17 a game, right? And that would have worked out. I have no idea what the future really holds for this Washington team. Again, what they did with Jordan Poole will bother me for the rest of his career, quite frankly. But it doesn't mean that there's not some guys that present some value.
Didn't you have a 3-point bet on Jordan Poole to lead the league in threes or something? Yeah.
Yeah, we took a piece of that. Here's what happened, Tom. And I've never seen anything like this. I'm glad you brought it up and I didn't bring it up. I'm glad you brought it up. Jordan Poole, okay, to average over 3.1 made threes per game is something I was aware I lost 5 games into the Wizards season. What was made even worse is they benched Jordan Poole and it fixed Jordan Poole, who now, as a non-starter, averages over 3.5 made threes per game. It is so unacceptable. I don't care how bad I don't care how bad he is, how bad the contract is. Tom, he's the highest paid player on the team. How they messed that up that immediately and then benched him and proved it didn't need to be this bad is beyond me.
I mean, yeah, he's probably one of the great mysteries of the season. Like, okay, he gets traded. You're thinking, okay, because I think I remember at the beginning of the season, you were like, he's going to take all the shots for Washington. And there's no reason he shouldn't be taking 25 shots a game, which is true. Like, in an ideal world, that's what should be happening. We know the Wizards weren't going to be good this year, but if Poole can maintain, I would say, a pretty decent level that he showed the past few years, like stepping into the lineup when Curry missed a game here or there, like he was solid. And you don't want to say like, oh, he was a product of his surroundings. And now it's like, what happened? He just like fell off a cliff. And then it's all of a sudden he's reemerging, coming off the bench.
Well, and again, he was so clearly the only thing that mattered on that roster. And then they were like, well, what if we only play him 29 minutes a game? So what are you doing? What are you doing? But again, it's the Wizards, and that's more air that they deserve ever. Clippers, Timberwolves, I mentioned there's a lot of health status up in the air, but you have a pick in this game, and I don't know, it feels like one of those games where everybody's going to end up probably playing anyway, Tom. So what are you doing with the game here with Minnesota and LA?
Yeah, all about Anthony Edwards under 30.5 points today at minus 128. I think this line's too high. 25, 19, 44, 13, and 27 points over his last 5 games. I know Karl-Anthony Towns is out. This game is a 215 over-under. Both teams are in the bottom 10 of the league in offensive pace. And looking at the starting lineup, when you see Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson and Mike Conley, like that offense outside of Anthony Edwards really doesn't scare me. So if the Clippers are already solid on defense, they can sell out to guard Anthony Edwards, and they probably win that game going away, right? Like, if Edwards doesn't score, tell me what part of that lineup is a massive threat on offense. I think Naz Reid is in for a solid role moving forward. coming off the bench with no Cat, but like, what part of that offense scares you if Anthony Edwards isn't having a big game? The answer is none. So that means the Clippers can shut him down. He's going to end with 19 or 22 points. Clippers win this game, and they take care of business. Kawhi plays, PG plays, and they pick up another win. Like, Anthony Edwards isn't having 35 tonight against the Clippers.
Yeah, no, he's going to need a lot of shots. I mean, the last time he went over that number, he had actually 35 shots against Indiana. You know, the reason why I think Minnesota's in some trouble, I don't know where you land, Tom, on Anthony Edwards. This guy's approval rating is one of the highest in the league. Everybody loves Anthony Edwards. He's a obviously really good basketball player. He's not elite yet. No. And the idea that Cat's out and he's just going to average 30 a night, he's not that guy yet. He just isn't. Again, if you look, right, since the Cat injury, Tom, or in this month, he has one game over 30 points. It's just he's not ready to do that yet.
Right. I think he's super charismatic, and I think he's like probably going to be one of the stars moving forward. But like that doesn't matter when we're talking about a line and his overall efficiency going up against a good defense. So I think he's in for a massively bright future, one of the many young players that is. But this line's all about the under tonight.
Let me ask you just quickly on the idea of Minnesota. Obviously, their odds plummeted with the Cat news. I would expect earliest return, just reading the tea leaves. I'm obviously not a doctor. Round 2 of the Western Conference playoffs. I think it's live. He just doesn't play another game this season, which is unfortunate for them. Do you have any Western Conference positions yet or teams that you're looking to dial up?
No, but, you know, my take coming into the playoffs, or I said on other shows a couple of weeks ago, this was before Cat got hurt. You give me basically any of those bottom-ish teams, Dallas, Phoenix, any of those teams going up against Minnesota, I would take them, those underdogs in terms of the seed. I would take those underdogs -1.5 on a series price going up against Minnesota. Minnesota's having a great year. They're not ready for the playoffs. I will take Phoenix 100 times out of 100 ahead of Minnesota if that were to be the matchup in the second round.
Yeah, look, we're at the time of the year, obviously, where everyone's waiting for the bracket when it comes to college basketball. But the NBA bracket this year will be just as important. It will. In the West, I mean, the stuff that I don't know. It's so hard to imagine what is up for. The Warriors are the 10 seed and the Lakers are the 9. Which guarantees if this stays the way it is, one of them won't be in the playoffs, if not both, right? And they chew up because of who they are and their pedigree. It's not just popularity, it's the pedigree of LeBron and Steph. They chew up a lot of the market, and it's understandable. Literally last year, LeBron was in the Western Conference Finals, right? And if I'm remembering off the top, the year before that, the Warriors won the title. Is that how that went, Tom?
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, this is how this goes, right? This is usually how this goes, and it'll be really interesting to see how it falls. Let's hit the NHL, Tom. I know you got some juice on the board here. The Avs in action late night in Calgary. What are you playing in this game?
It's all about Mikko Rantanen to score a goal at +125. Over the past 2 weeks, the Flames are allowing 4.21 goals per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. That is the worst in the NHL. Rantanen is an elite shooter. He hasn't scored in his last 5 games. He has 21 shots on goal over the last 5 games. He's picking up all these assists. Of course he is, on line with Nathan McKinnon. But first forward line, first power play, no goals. He has 15 shots on goal over the past 2 games. He's simply due for positive regression. That's what it comes down to. That's my theme of today for a few goal scorers. You shoot at this high of a volume with a primary offensive role, seeing power play time, top 6 line, and you're not scoring. That's simply just due to variance. That's what it comes down to. It's like a home run hitter who has these massively high exit velocities, but is flying out to the warning track. Like, a home run's going to be coming for that guy. A goal's coming for Rantanen tonight.
Love it. And then what about in the game between Montreal and Columbus?
That would be the same. That's Cole Caulfield for a goal. He has the 8th most shots on goal in the entire league. He has 45 shots on goal over the past 10 games. He has no goals over that time. He has 94 or 95 more shots on goal than the next player on Montreal. He has no goals over his last 10 games. Not worried about the defense in that game. Both teams are terrible on defense. We could just see a ton of goals, ton of sloppy. And that's the same thing for Cole Caulfield. I would say the same thing about Owen Tippett for the Philadelphia Flyers. +170 for a goal for him. 35 shots on goal over the past 9. 1 goal in this time going up against the Sharks. Only 3.94 goals, which is the 4th worst in the league over the past 2 weeks. So a lot of players due for some positive regression tonight.
I want to throw this out to you quickly. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I just saw this for me the first time, the Art Ross Trophy, which is to lead the league in points. McKinnon
Right.
minus 165, McDavid 240, Kucherov plus 410. McKinnon and Kucherov's teams have played 65 games, so McDavid's at 63, which means he has 2 games in hand. McKinnon has an 8-point lead on McDavid and a 4-point lead on Kucherov. I just go bet McDavid at plus money. Is this a market you've looked at?
Yeah, I've looked at that market. Like, if you could get McDavid's number closer to 3-1, I think that's fine. But the pace that McKinnon's on, McDavid would have to do insane things to catch up, even just over 2 games. Like 8 points is a lot over 2 games. So if you get it closer to 3, right, I would take a little sprinkle on that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and obviously, so he has the 2 games, but it's also what he does on a per-game basis. I know McKinnon's obviously had a great season. It's just, there were probably preseason odds on who was going to lead the league in points. I wonder what the McDavid number was. But again, Tom, we appreciate it as always. Great stuff. We'll talk more next week. Coach James Young in the fold next right here.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. All right, we're live with you right here on Sports Grid. Appreciate Tom Vecchio stomping by. Up next, it's Coach James Young. JY's going to be with us here for half hour plus. What we're going to do is go through the picks for tonight. All right, get everybody set up here, college and NBA, and then we're going through those major conference tournaments. Of course, I'm out tomorrow. I don't know if JY's in the mix, but it doesn't matter because I want to do this with JY myself, so maybe I'm being greedy. And you know what? These tournaments all start early anyway. The games come off the board, so that's what we're going to do. ACC started, Big 12 started. We've got the SEC. We've got the Big 12, the Big 10. The Big 12 started. What else? Pac-12. We got all of it. I just want to quickly mention with the NFL news, some defensive player news. Danielle Hunter is going to go to the Houston Texans on a sizable contract. Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay switches up and is now going to be with the New Orleans Saints. And then the released Jordan Poyer gets a one-year deal, stays in division, and goes to the Miami Dolphins. So some breaking NFL news on the defensive side of the football. Coach James Young is here. JY, I think we start NBA and then we'll make our college shift. And, I mean, this is every night, me and you, with these head-to-heads. I'm on the Sixers plus 6.5. You're on the Knicks. See, you won last night, and it was against my best bet. I'm going to be mean about this one. You like OG Anunoby too much. Sixers went outright. I had enough of this. How are you, sir?
Good to be on with you. Yes, I won last night, but I'm mad right now because I took UVM minus the points, and they're playing around too much with New Hampshire, and I'm not going to cover. Very upset by this. Very upset.
Hang in there, pal. Why do you like the Knicks against the Sixers?
Oh, yeah, back to the Knicks. Yes. Listen, that was one of the worst basketball games any human being could watch. So I'm looking for a Knicks team to bounce back, a Knicks team that's played pretty well against Philadelphia. I think OG does give them a boost. They're not going to shoot 4 for 5,225 from 3. Hopefully they make more than that. I think the Knicks play better. Tips will be pissed off tonight. So will the Knicks. Give me the Knicks minus the points.
We'll see. That offense has been broken for a while. OG Anunoby wasn't brought in to fix the offense. You know who they kind of miss, JY? You know who they miss?
By the way, hey, real quick, DraftKings. I know it sounds crazy. First made 3. OG Anunoby, 10-1. I think I'm going to do it. It's Threes Day. It's Threes Day, K-Dub.
Hey, JY, happy. They missed 3-0 in that white, blue, and orange, man. You better start being
Who's that? Oh, Bernard King? Oh, yeah, they missed Bernard King. I absolutely agree about that, 1,000%.
I mean, listen, they put Bernard King in that starting 5. They're not going to be averaging any less points per game, I'll tell you that much. What about this Celtics-Jazz game here, JY? Second leg of a back-to-back. It's got Boston on a discount.
I think they have Boston on a discount. Listen, no Porzingis, no Horford, no Brown. But Holiday's back. Obviously, they have Derek White, and they do have Jason Tatum against a team in the Jazz, which for the second year in a row, folks, they have just folded up shop after the All-Star break. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Celtics minus 6.5. If you think that's too much, maybe you take them first half. In fact, I've seen it as 5.5 on a lot of places. So shop around, folks, and make sure you get yourself the best deal. But I do like the Celtics minus the points tonight.
All right, JY, and then we go to this Pacers-Thunder game. I've got some juice in it myself. I'm on the over. Chet Holmgren, first quarter points at 3.5. J-Dub is out this game. Jalen Williams, the starter, who averages almost 20 a game. Not the other Jalen Williams. I know it can be a little bit confusing. So that only helps the Chet Holmgren prop here. But, JY, your props come on the Indiana side of it. What do you look for?
Well, I'm going to go because it's going to be pace, right? So I want people that are going to get up and down the floor. So I'm going to go with Obi Toppin over 7.5 points, going over 2 of his last 3 games. Because of his high pace up and down, this is where Obi kind of excels, this type of game. They don't matter about his defense. They need him to get up and down the floor. Obi over 7.5 points. And the correlated, I'm going to go with Pascal Siakam over 3.5 assists. I know he's only gone over 1 of the last 5 games, but this is a spot where I think he could excel because a lot of possessions, he should be able to get the ball up and down and get some other people involved. Pascal Siakam over 3.5 assists.
All right, little Pascal juice here for the people. From JY, 4 picks on that NBA card. Let's make it happen college basketball style. Now, I don't know if I have, people are trying to butter me up, right? Today, the great production team, they show the biggest games on today's slate. They snuck in Iona Manhattan. I didn't ask for that. I'm the most unbiased man in the history of sports media. I would never ask for that. I'm not mad at it. JY comes in the mix here. He's picking Mac Hoops tonight. Manhattan, Iona, JY. What do you like in this game?
Oh, hey, get up. It's time for some action. Time for some action. I'm going to go at Iona minus 7.5. Now, I know they're 2-8 against the spread, but this is a game where this team is just not good in Manhattan. They're 7-22. Tobin Anderson, this should be a straight-up beatdown down at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. And I like the MAC so much, Kate, I took 2 MAC games. First MAC game I like, Iona minus 7.5 tonight.
Listen, go Gales, you know what I mean? Not enough people are saying it. That's what I'm saying. I also will say DRS, Dr. Donnie Wright's on our radio today, mentioned like an Iona as well. So we'll see how they handle Manhattan here. JY, you mentioned you were on 2 MAC games. The other is Niagara-Siena. Siena, one of the worst teams in college basketball this season, fading them one final time.
Yeah, just like Kid and Play, high top fade. I'm going with the Niagara Purple Eagles, led by former Duke Vessel player Greg Paulus, if you did not know that. Greg Paulus, the head coach of the Niagara Purple Eagles. I'm going to go ahead and take a minus 9.5. Siena is bad. I mean, they were good for a little bit, right? And then obviously when Jalen Pickett transferred out to Penn State, they started coming down. They've hit this is just one of the worst teams in NCAA. I think a good team in regards to the fact that with the travel of Niagara, they've been down in Albany probably for at least over a day. So that shouldn't be a concern. Siena, I don't buy it. This is home court for them. Home court, neutral court, no court. They're getting their brains beat in. Give me Niagara minus the points.
All right, can't get mad at it. How about this Merrimack-Wagner game? Trip to the tournament on the line here in the Northeast Conference. What do you see in this matchup?
You know, if folks think about it last year, there's a part of the story about FDU's run that people are forgetting. It's the fact that they lost to Merrimack in the conference championship game. Merrimack went and won the championship over FDU, and because they were in transition, they weren't eligible to make the NCAA tournament. They're eligible to make it this year. I still think it's the dumbest rule ever that you can go up in league or up in conference or division from 2 to 1 and you're transitioning, so you can't make it, but you were Division 2. Well, I don't care. Anyway, I like Merrimack minus 7.5. It's been a good story for Wagner making a run all the way to the finals. It stops tonight. Merrimack, they punched their ticket in a big way, minus 7.5.
And then we close it out with Gonzaga, who last night had one of the best 8-minute runs of offense I have seen in some time against a legitimate opponent, because that's what the Dons are. Gonzaga won. Gonzaga covered. JY, they try to close it out against St. Mary's tonight. You trust them in this spot?
I do trust them again. I just think, Kevin, they're on a roll right now. And this is nothing against St. Mary's. I think both teams are should be, Kevin, comfortably in the NCAA tournament, right? Because of the run that Gonzaga has, and we know that St. Mary's is already in. I'm going by the team that's just playing better. Now, I'm going to do something that I usually don't do, right? And we've talked about this before, you and I. I usually don't touch money line if it's minus 150, more than minus 150. I think this game's going to be close. I'm going to just buy myself that extra point or so by just going money line, minus 170. Gonzaga wins the WCC over St. Mary's.
I have expected to be on St. Mary's in this game pre-tournament. I thought about playing their plus 125. That number is actually longer, even though they're in the final game. That's how well Gonzaga is playing. I'm backing off. I'm not betting the game. I can't switch to Gonzaga. I still think St. Mary's gets the job done. But again, JY makes a lot of good points. But let's just have a quick conversation then on Gonzaga national-wise. All right? The committee last year had an absolute disgrace of a performance as it pertained to ranking UConn. UConn entered the tournament inside the top 5 on KenPom. They had a 4th seed in their region. I say this with no disrespect to people who cashed those tickets. Good for you. There was 1 million people on UConn to win the tournament. 1 million. It wasn't some who saw this coming. Countless folks bet you, and not just people in this industry. Friends, anybody. And again, and I'm not saying that JY saw, right? The books didn't adjust enough. That was on them. But Gonzaga is currently, 50-1, right? And I think a part of that is they might end up on the 8-9. The world where we have two of the 15 best teams in college basketball playing in the round of 32 will be a disgrace. An absolute disgrace. And I'll tell you this right now, somebody with the Gonzaga future, run it. Run it. Ask Purdue if they want the game. Ask Rick Barnes if he wants Mark Few in the round of 32. I can tell you the answer. It's no, okay? It's not only a disservice to Gonzaga basketball, it's even worse to the 1 seeds who have supposedly earned the easiest path, and they have earned that. It is then up to the committee to see what is in front of their face. Stop talking to me about quadrants. I don't care. They went to Rupp, dogged them. St. Mary's at your building. Here's your first loss in WCC. The Dons are a top 50 offense in the country. Here's a gazillion points on your head. Anyway, this is one of the scariest teams in college basketball. And when we talk about some of the best jobs this year we've seen from coaches, let's talk about Mark Few. This team felt entirely new entering the season, lost a lot of talent and a mainstay in this sport in Drew Timme. And here we are again in March with Gonzaga looking as dangerous as any team in the country outside of UConn, Houston, and Purdue.
And I think you're absolutely right. And I think here's the thing, folks. They have to make sure they seed this appropriately. Because I don't want, if I'm one of these top teams, I don't want them in my bracket. I mean, to me, Kevin, they're a 5. To me, they're a solid 5 seed. Now, they're going to probably screw on and give them 8 or 9. But, I mean, if you look at their schedule, folks, and you can sit there and say, oh, they're in the WCC. WCC is a damn good league. It's better than some of these leagues that we watch every night in and night out. I'll tell you that for sure. Big Ten, I'm talking to you. I'm sorry, Ben Stevens. I know you're going to be very upset with that comment, but I'm sorry. But when you look at Gonzaga, folks, they've lost what, Kevin? 2 games this calendar year? How about the fact that they beat some good teams, right? Yeah, look at their losses, folks. Ready? St. Mary's, Purdue by 10, Washington, throw it out, UConn by 13, San Diego State. They don't have a bad loss. And that's when they weren't playing Wildcat up. Now they're playing as well as anybody in the country, including going to Rupp and thrashing Kentucky when no one thought they had a shot. Me included. That game changed me. I think this team is a legit team that can make a deep run. And I would say this. If they get in the right bracket, Kevin, meaning away from UConn and some of these other teams, they could make a run to the Final Four. You watch.
And I like that they've played UConn and Purdue, and they've been up against those top teams. Here's what we're going to do next. We got to go through all the tournaments. Since the ACC and the Big 12 already started, we're going to do those quickly. All right, we're back in just a couple of minutes. We're a little ACC, a little Big 12, and then we got all the major conferences still to go through. It's Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young with me here. It's Game Time Decisions on a Tuesday night.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. We're going to go quick here, top of the hour. We're starting this off, Big East Tournament. JY and I, we're dialed on the Big East Tournament. The Big 12, I played Baylor plus 650. The only thing that was tough for me about this is I know a lot of people out there got a better number than I did, but as long as this team is basically double the price of Iowa State, I'm betting this. I don't care Baylor has to likely play Kansas. Kansas is missing their two best players. Baylor might lay 10 in that game, and they should. And if they're not, I'm laying it with Baylor, even though I have the ticket. That is just such a good spot for the Baylor Bears. I'm sorry. I don't think Bill Self cares about the tournament. That's part of the reason we're not seeing McCullough and Hunter Dickinson. ACC, it's long shots. They're ugly. Work with me here. We've got 15-1 on Pitt, 19-1 on Virginia. Why? Double buys. I'm a win away from the semifinals with both of these basketball teams. I know everybody's got Clemson beating Virginia. I get it. They're going to be favored to Clemson over Virginia. I get it. I'm trusting those teams. JY, you feel that there's some juice out there on the ACC board as well.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Wake Forest. A Wake Forest team, I think, by Coach Forbes is one of the better coached teams in the country. They have wins over some of these top teams. And I just think, I think the ACC is going to be crazy. But I will say this. As much as you like that league and like Virginia, I can't stand them. I think they could get rolled in the first round. When we talk about the Big 12, folks, obviously Houston's something to look at. I would look at Iowa State. I think they play solid defense. And I'm like Kevin, I am so far gone on Kansas. They're not healthy. If I'm Bill Self, I'm not risk it. I get into the tournament, and I make my run then. I don't risk McCullough or Dickinson getting hurt. I rest them for the tournament.
And that is confirmed. They are out. Dickinson and McCullough are out. It's not a Tyler Kolek situation, which we're about to talk about, who might appear in the Big East tournament. No Hunter Dickinson, no Kevin McCullough until the tournament. We go to the Big East as we start. We are back in less than a minute. JY is about to make the same mistake as always. We'll see. We're back to you right here on Game Time Decisions. Live on Sports Grid, it is Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh with you here on a Tuesday night. A lot of action starting up here. We've had picks from Coach James Young and Tom Vecchio. Tom Vecchio helped us out with the NBA, the NHL. More NHL picks coming in 20 minutes with Joe Madden, as there's a lot of the night slate that we have not been able to hit just yet. Dave Sharapan will be here in 40 minutes time as well. But Coach James Young is still in the fold on this Tuesday night because we need to hit the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the Big East Conference tournaments that all begin tomorrow. JY, let's start it off here with the Big East tournament. The favorite is UConn, of course. Anywhere you look, the shortest number I've seen on UConn, minus 135. We're using some FanDuel odds here to keep it consistent for the people. JY, when you look to give out a pick to win the Big East tournament, you going short, you going value? How do you approach this conference?
2 picks. I have to go short with UConn because I think they're obviously the best team. But oh. All right, folks, they're probably going to lose at the poll because I said this. Villanova is going to make a run. And I think they could actually win it at 20-1. All right. So first round, they should be able to take the poll. If they don't beat the poll, Kyle Neptune will be fired. Let's just put that out there. Next, they get Marquette with a compromised Tyler Kolek. I think Kolek's not 100%. That's a tough injury. If I'm Pachaka, I'm resting him too. They get by them. Then they get Creighton. Take away the beginning of that game. They outplayed Creighton in the second half. They also won at Creighton. They have the big size in Dixon that could kind of give Colorado problems. And then they went, as we welcome in our radio audience, Coach Young can even do that. It's Game Time Decisions with Coach Young, K-Dub, talking about how Villanova is a value play at 20-1. And folks, hear me out here. Take them at 20-1. They get by Marquette. They get by Creighton. Cash out. Still going to make money.
If you get to that title game, right, considering you're going to play UConn and another team, which if you're going to play UConn, you have to play a longer number, then I get it, because your thought is Villanova will play UConn in that final game, and if they're not playing UConn, they're playing a team they're going to be favored over. Seton Hall, St. John's, Xavier Butler, that's who's in that part of the bracket. For Nova, I think beating Creighton absolutely makes a ton of sense. The Marquette thing, though, is tricky because we do not know what is happening with Tyler Kolek. I agree. I don't think he plays. Here's the story, though. I'm keeping this simple. I'm just betting UConn. I'm not going to take a portion of money that I was willing to bet on the Big East tournament and give it to anybody other than UConn, especially with a minus 135 number available on DraftKings. Okay? When we look at who this team is set to play, it is going to, and look, I know I'm probably moving past maybe too easily the 8-9 Butler-Xavier game, but I'm going to do that. Okay, in the semifinals, it's Seton Hall or St. John's. I think Seton Hall is going to beat St. John's. Either way, I think UConn will drum whichever one of those teams they play. Because Dan Hurley's motivation to win this conference has been made publicly known from the beginning of this season. Because there's a lot of coaches, right, who have success, and then they go, well, we're not done. But you can always tell when they mean it. And Bill Belichick always meant it. And Nick Saban always meant it. And damn it, if Dan Hurley doesn't mean it, then I don't know who does. And that team last year won a national title. But they didn't win the Big East. They didn't win that Big East tournament. That was Marquette. I'm telling you right now, Dan Hurley's calling Shaka Smart's phone regularly. Play Kolek. I dare you. Come get dog walked again. See, that's the thing. Sometimes I worry about a team playing a team 3 times and having to beat them 3 times in college hoops if they're evenly matched. But they're not evenly matched. And this is just, it matters so much to UConn. It does. And that bottom bracket, again, I get it with Nova. I see the vision. But if it's UConn Nova, I know I have UConn winning that game. That's my projection. If it's Creighton, there is nobody at the bottom of the bracket that I am picking to beat UConn. The most dangerous team, I guess, is Rick Pitino's Johnnies if he's got him absolutely dialed in a quote-unquote home game at the Garden. But folks, just show up to the game. You tell me if that crowd isn't 50-50. You'll see. MSG's never been that much of a home court for Saints. It's not.
And Kevin, it's 2:30 It's 2:30.
Yeah.
That's not a 7 p.m. game. If it was a 7 p.m. game, I would say more of an advantage. But that is not as much of a home court advantage as thing. Actually, right? UConn travels well. Seton Hall's going to travel well. I'll tell you what. Villanova travels extremely well. Shoot, I went last year. Marquette and Xavier traveled well. Don't tell me that this is a big home court advantage for Pitino. It is not.
It isn't. It just isn't. And if it'd be different if they were UConn good, then maybe they're not. And that's why the fanfare, it doesn't bubble up as much. We have a lot to get to. So let's start, JY. Let's start with the Big Ten tournament here. And I bet Illinois at plus 310. I think there's a lot of value on this number with the Illini. First of all, if you look at their losses this season in Big Ten play, lost to Purdue both times. That's fine. At Purdue was by 5 without Shannon. They were favored against the Boilermakers at home. So that's a light number if that's who they play in the title game. Okay? Maryland stunned them. Good for them. The Terps aren't in their part of the bracket. Northwestern was on the road in overtime, and Michigan State was on the road by 8, and then the crazy Penn State collapse. And again, that was only by 1. But here's what it comes down to. The best teams in this conference, right? Look at KenPom. Who's in the top 30? Only 4 of them. Purdue, Illinois, Michigan State, Wisconsin. 3 of them are in the top of it. Illinois is by themselves in the bottom. If Nebraska picks them off, so be it. If Iowa gets red hot, picks them off, so be it. I'm not buying the Buckeyes. I'm not buying the Buckeyes. The Illini have the second best offense in this conference, and they have the path to the title game. And for Purdue, if they have to play Michigan State and Wisconsin, that's a really tough road. And if Purdue doesn't get there, Illinois is going to be favored in that title game at plus 310. Give me the Illini, JY, to win the Big Ten.
I disagree on anything you said. I agree 1,000% with that analysis because I think Illinois is the second best team, and I think they have a cakewalk. I don't want to say cakewalk, but they have a way easier path. Kevin, I don't even think Purdue's going to get to the final game. I could see Izzo finding a way, and I could see those guards for Purdue just get a little bit tight. I watched them against Wisconsin. If the refs let you play, and they usually let you play a little bit more in tournaments, they could push Edey out of that low block area. It's a problem. I'm taking the Illini. That is my play. It's my value play to come out of the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, again, as the second option, look, they aren't as good as Purdue. They aren't. But they are. The gap between Purdue and Illinois is probably similar, I would say, to Illinois and Michigan State, right? So if they, for me, are the second best team, which they are, in the Big Ten, they have the path that's on the table, which is inarguably more favorable at plus 310. They're the price to me. Pac-12 at SEC next with Coach Jay Jung right here. It's GameTime Decisions on a Tuesday.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fast man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. Game Time Decisions. Let's get to the Pac-12 Conference Tournament. Arizona is a minus money favorite anywhere you look, understandably so. This has not been a conference that has really been talked about very favorably. The only other team inside the top 40 on KenPom is Colorado. They have the second best odds. Washington State is the only other team inside 10-1. JY, you have two picks for the Pac-12 tournament, plus money abound. What are you doing here in the Pac-12 tournament?
Kevin, first things first, I like Washington State. I think this team is obviously, they beat Arizona twice. I think their defense and their coaching, and if Wells can play the way he's capable of at times, I think they can make a run. I think they're better than Colorado, and I think they can find themselves into the finals. On the other side of the bracket, folks, Kevin's going to be mad at me. The second most unbiased man in sports media is telling you, USC, Bronny James, Boogie, we're going to get Boogie with it. Boogie Nights, oh my God. Isaiah Collier, folks, listen, before this season, let's be honest, we all thought that this team could have made a run and won the Pac-12. They've had a terrible season. You know what cares about that now? Nobody, because you just got to be hot for 4 days. And I really do believe that this team is good enough to go on a run and win 4 straight. They have the talent, they have the backcourt, and they have the shot creators to do it. Give me USC 20-1, win the Pac-12. Yeah, I said it.
Listen, USC is starting to get a lot of love. It is frustrating to see this team figure out how to play basketball with only a month left. My biggest concern for them is that they are in Arizona's portion of the bracket. You know, if they would have lost to Arizona, they would have stayed the 11. And then they could have played Utah and Colorado. And it's beating Arizona twice in a row is something that I can't get to. The Pac-12 tournament was difficult for me to find value within, but I ultimately landed on Utah, the 6th seed, at 18-1. And it is a value play. Look, they're not playing incredible basketball. Here's the thing. Nobody really is. Maybe Colorado. There's some health questions, though. There is. But Utah is the 4th best team overall on KenPom, and they get to avoid Arizona, which is, of course, helpful. Now, so does Washington State, and so does Colorado. But here's the reality. This team in Utah has beaten all these teams. All the top teams in the Pac-12, other than Arizona, they've put a win on. Okay? And they played Arizona to triple overtime in a game. They're top 50 offensively and defensively, basically, 52nd on defense. And at 18-1, it's a good enough number. They beat Arizona State, upset Utah. It's going to be a short number against Wazoo, or they'll be favored. And then I think we can get to the title game and we figure it out there. Because let's make that clear with some of these prices. Okay? Illinois is not a bet and hedge. That's a bet and win. That's the process, right? UConn is not a bet and hedge. That's a bet and win, right? But Utah, we're going to figure some stuff out with. UVA, Pitt, we're hoping to figure some stuff out with. That's the idea here. And in the SEC, I am going to rock with two teams. A bet and win and a long shot that I've been discussing. JY, you're also picking with two teams, but clearly your process was a bit different for how you wanted to approach this because you have two teams on the same side of the bracket. So what were you looking for here with the SEC conference tournament?
I was looking at teams that can get bucket getters and teams that can play at a pace and that can create shots and create offense when the game slows down. And that's Kentucky and Alabama. Folks, I really believe that Kentucky is primed to make a huge run in March. I've talked about their guard play. I can tell you this, as a coach, when you get to the tournament, folks, you have everyone scouted. You played them twice. You know everybody in your side of the bracket. You probably watched. I remember being at Monmouth and being up 8, 9, hours straight, watching film, breaking everything down. You know what you can't break down, folks? People that can go get a shot. Guard play. I really do believe that Kentucky and Alabama offensively pose enough of a threat that they can take anybody out. I know they're on the same side. So what I'm saying is whoever comes out of that side, I don't care who's on the other side, is going to win it. Kentucky, Alabama, those are my two picks.
So, listen, if you're going to roll a coach, right? You play those teams, and that's what you're doing. You hope they meet in the semis, and then you trust them against the top of the bracket. The short number I took in the top of the bracket is Auburn at plus 260. On DraftKings, this is double the price of Tennessee. That is outrageous. That is outrageous. Tennessee is not twice as good as Auburn, and arguably has the easier path. I know Mississippi State just lost to South Carolina. Trust me, I do. I laid that 4.5, 5.5 number. But Mississippi State has been priced all year long as the more dangerous team than South Carolina. And that Auburn is supposed to be playing South Carolina, who they beat by 40, and Tennessee draws Mississippi State. If both of those teams hold as favorites, I'm going to take my chance that Auburn can win that game. I think they will win that game. I think Auburn is due for a marquee victory. We've seen this a few times in the SEC this year, where these top teams are due to grab a big one. And I think that's the case for Auburn. And if Auburn then does that, they'll be in the title game. And JY, I'm not so sure that Kentucky or Bama will be there. Because as good as their ceiling is, we know the floor. And that's the defense. The defense cannot get a stop. They can't. And that's why I'm taking a big number in that part of the bracket with Texas A&M at 80-1. There are 8 teams inside the top 50 on KenPom from this conference, and A&M is one of them. They're a spot back of South Carolina, who's being priced in the 50s or so to win this tournament. This is far too big of a number when this team in Texas A&M opens with Ole Miss, who they just beat big in the regular season finale. They won that basketball game by 26 on the road. On the road. The follow-up would be playing Kentucky. And I know, listen, Kentucky has a ceiling. Well, we've seen Kentucky let games slip. And they've already lost to Texas A&M this season. Yes, it was at home. Yes, it was in overtime. But that's already happened. And on 80-1, I don't have to get to the title game. I don't have to get to the title game. I just need to get to the semifinals. And I will roll with it from there. If I had to play, which I'm not, but if I had to, I'd rather Bama than Kentucky, JY. I worry Florida has their number, but I'm playing Auburn at plus 260 with a long shot piece of Texas A&M at 80-1.
When you look at Texas A&M, when you look at a guy like Buzz Williams, he will have his kids ready to play. And he's the type of coach that, Kevin, you're right. He could muck a game up enough that they could steal some wins. I got your concerns, and I agree with you on some parts. I just think of the coach in me and preparing myself for opponents. I got everybody figured out. I don't know how I stop these Kentucky guards. I just don't, because there's 6 of them, and all you need is 2 of them to be going off. I mean, play the percentages, folks. Like 2 out of 6 go off, they're going to win. I see that happening. Really quick, Kevin. Interesting enough, American. Like, what are you thinking about the American? Because I think this is going to be a wild one. I'm looking at Memphis as a 5 seed that can get away in. Oh yeah, of course Temple. Of course, Temple. Why not Temple?
Look, it is behind the scenes. They're loving the Temple. FAU's plus 160, Memphis plus 440, SMU plus 490, 550 South Florida, plus 950 on North Texas, UAB 13-1, Charlotte 14-1. Everybody else is a gazillion to 1 or longer. I will just say, and I haven't figured it out yet. I'll send the tweet out tomorrow. But this is a must-win for me to even consider that FAU can do some damage in the tournament, because they're kind of hanging their hat on, we're a tournament team. We're dangerous when tournaments start. We'll find out. Breaking NFL news and the NHL board next.
Yes.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We're live. We're back. We're looking for no goals. Rangers, Hurricanes. We'll talk more NHL in a second. Quickly, NFL breaking news. Eagles get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back. All right, I know. That's not what everybody's talking about. Deontay Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers is now going to be the lead wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers as Carolina is desperately trying to get someone for Bryce Young to throw the football to. I am sure Deontay Johnson is excited about being the clear-cut number one in Carolina, and I mean that actually seriously. Pickens going to kind of supplant him, plus it's not like the quarterback situation's that much better anyway in Pittsburgh. So Deontay Johnson is now going to be wide receiver one for the Carolina Panthers. With that said, let's hit the NHL. Speaking of Carolina, their game against the Rangers, Joe Madden, we need no goals in the first 10 minutes, you said. Has it been a success?
We have 9 seconds left. As long as the next 9 seconds we don't see a goal, and I'm sweating this one out. The shots are coming, so hold your breath. 9 seconds of ice time.
All right.
4 seconds of ice time.
All right. Everybody just take a deep breath. Let's root it in. This sounds like maybe the single most stressful bet imaginable. I will say of the 5 games that started, only Senators Penguins did not have a goal in the first 10 minutes, so maybe law of averages were due. Did the 4 minutes pass? 4 seconds pass?
Yes, we cashed. That
All
was
right.
plus 110. No goals in the first 10 minutes. Always something to look at. Yeah.
How about that?
There we
We're starting with a win before it even starts. That's what I'm talking about. We're making it happen. All right, Joe, let's get involved here. Stars-Panthers, great game. Exciting game.
Mm-hmm.
We know Dallas is good. Florida as good as it gets, though. Slight dog for the Panthers. Slight. Total 6.5. What are you doing with this game?
When was the last time you saw the Florida Panthers sitting at a price like this? It hasn't happened in forever. I've got to put a bit of money here on the Florida Panthers on the money line. I think they have every opportunity of beating the Dallas Stars at home, and this should be more of a pick-em situation. Now, I know there's a couple of people out for the Florida Panthers, and there's some line changes, but I still think the talent on this team is where I've got to put my money. Bobrovsky in net, I can trust. And I look at the Dallas Stars. Jake Ottinger has been up and down. We look at him and how many goals he allowed the Sharks to put on him in those games, and I just can't trust him here against the Florida Panthers. This team's so strong offensively as well as defensively. Now, I'm going to take the Florida Panthers. I'm also going to look at this game to stay under that total. I expect playoff style hockey here. We're getting a 6.5. I got to take it straight to that under. And if you want to sweat out the no goal in the first 10 minutes, I think it absolutely could cash in this one, Kevin. Like I was saying about the Rangers and the Canes, when we look at these teams that are making a huge push for the Stanley Cup, defense and goaltending, as long as they show up in that first 10 minutes, these play more of that defensive style where they lock down. No one wants to make that first mistake. Once that first mistake happens, we see the teams open up a little bit more, but that first mistake no one wants to have on their record. Yep. So I do love that no goal in the first 10 minutes now that we're getting closer to the playoff time.
Yeah, it's a plus 120 number, it looks like right now, for that no goal within the first 10. If I were to bet that, I simply could not watch that. That sounds so incredibly stressful. But again, wins are wins, and that's what it is all about. Let's keep moving here, Joe, through tonight's slate. We've got the Minnesota Wild in action at home against the Arizona Coyotes, a minus 200 number on Minnesota. This total as well is a 6.5. Where do you see some value in this game?
Okay, I got to look at the team total here for the Minnesota Wild. That team total coming in at 3.5 at minus 118 to the over. And I do trust them to be able to go over this number. They scored at least 3 goals in 6 of their last 10. And against the Arizona Coyotes here with Vejmelka in net, I do think that they can rack up the goals in this one. Marc-Andre Fleury will be in net for them. So I do think this is one where they can get the win in this game. But we look at them, they're 0-8 on that puck line following a win in overtime, and they were able to get that versus the Predators. So I didn't want to take the puck line here. It was just another way to be able to find value. And that team total, you're getting value at minus 118 to the over 3.5. Now, Kaprizov here for the power play point, I think is a really strong way to look at if you're looking for a player prop as well. The Wild are strong on the power play, and the kill's not too great here for the Arizona Coyotes. So that's coming in at plus 130 for Kaprizov for the power play point.
All right, we move over to the Chicago Blackhawks, who, for the first time that I can remember in a while, they're not a dog,
They are minus 110 straight pick 'em here with the Anaheim Ducks. The Blackhawks are at home. Over the weekend, Joe and I talked about Connor Bedard breaking out as far as it goes to scoring goals. It was 12-1, and he did score 2+ in that game. Had a 3-point performance overall against, I believe it was the Coyotes, if memory serves there, Joe.
Yeah.
Yep, tonight now they play the Anaheim Ducks. What do you expect from the Blackhawks?
Okay, I don't know what to expect from either of these teams. Both of these teams can be so inconsistent out there, Kevin, that it's really hard to put your money on either of them to be able to get the win, especially Chicago as the favorite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and circle Connor Bedard here. He had a fantastic game last game. Like you said, 3 points, 2 goals, 1 assist. He had 7 shots on goal. You can look at his shots tonight, but I'm more confident in him for that anytime goal. It's coming in at plus 145, and it has so much value. If you want to ladder that up to 2+ or the hat trick, it's not out of realm here, because once Connor Bedard gets hot in these games at home, we continue to see him being hot. So I'm going to ride him while he's hot right now at plus 145.
Yeah, Connor Bedard, again, heading into this game, the points, we're used to that being minus money, but minus 230 is the strongest we've seen in some time for Bedard. The 2+ points is down to plus 215. So clearly the books now a little bit more prepared for Bedard, and it makes sense. He's only going to get better. Obviously, the most highly regarded prospect in quite some time to hit this league, and he's going to win Rookie of the Year and perhaps has a bit of a run coming now as the season remains. Calgary, Joe, tonight at home, a dog with Colorado coming into their building, another 6.5 total. What do you think of the As and the Flames?
Okay, this is going to be really interesting to see how the Flames come out, because the Calgary Flames really are not like the Pittsburgh Penguins, where the Pittsburgh Penguins have given up. They know they're not making the playoffs. They've given up. Calgary, on the other hand, they're not giving up. And while they've lost their last 2, I expect a lot of effort out of these young, hungry players. They're coming out to win these matchups. Now, they're home off a road trip. They went 1-2 on that road trip. So they had their struggles, but I do think they can find the back of the net today. I'm going to take their team total. That's coming in at 2.5 to the over at 134, or sorry, minus 134. They might not win this one, but I do think this is a higher scoring matchup. Now, Jacob Markstrom will not be in net for the Calgary Flames. Dan Vladar is in. Jacob Markstrom's going to be out for a while with a lower body injury. They've called up their AHL goalie Wolf as well, but Annunen is in net for Colorado tonight. So while he's got strong numbers, I just look at these Calgary players, the young ones like Sharakovich coming out, and I think they can come and do what they did kind of to the Tampa Bay Lightning, get up nice and fast in the situation where Colorado's on the first night of a back-to-back. They've got Vancouver tomorrow. I think they might look past Calgary, but they still could get the win, but I think Calgary gets the goals.
Again, that total then is 6.5, potentially pushing towards the over as well. So it could be an exciting one tonight in Calgary. I know a lot of people looking always towards the Nathan McKinnon props. Earlier in the show, Tom Vecchio mentioned Rantanen to get on the score sheet here as well. Joe, the last game on the board is Seattle and Vegas. The Kraken are a home dog against the Golden Knights at about minus 146 for Vegas. This total's 5.5, but the juice is pointing towards the over. What do you look for in this game?
You know what? Seattle might be able to pull off the win here, and I love what we're getting on them on that money line right now at plus 125, because they were plus 114 earlier in the day. Money coming in on Vegas, but you look at the Seattle Kraken and how they've been playing. They have every opportunity of getting the win over the Vegas Golden Knights, especially with Vegas, their struggles that they've been having on the road. I do think, though, both of these teams score. So I think the best and the safest bet in this one, if there's ever such thing as a safe bet, is looking at this total over 5.5. I expect the goals to come by both of these teams in this one. I was flirting with the Kraken's team total over 2.5. It's minus 124, but I think it's easier just to look at this full game to the over. Playmakers on both sides of the puck, and Seattle, in their last 9 at home, 6 have gone over that total. And the defense of both of these teams has been absolutely struggling. While they've got great goaltending with Aiden Hill and Grubauer, the defenses are allowing these goals to come raining in, especially on Vegas's side. So I can't trust Vegas. Over their last 5 games, they've been allowing an average of 4.8 goals per game. So give me the over of 5.5 in this one, Kevin.
Let me ask you this quickly, Joe, before I let you go. Tomorrow, we'll see the Oilers play with McDavid, of course, McKinnon in action tonight. Recently, I've seen this market here for most points in this season, the Art Ross Trophy. McKinnon is minus 165. McDavid is plus 240. They are offering Kucherov at plus 410. Do you feel like McDavid can catch Nathan McKinnon, or McKinnon has just been far too solid and far too consistent to be caught for the points lead this season?
Yeah, Nathan McKinnon seems to be just so solid this season. He keeps rolling in each and every one of these games. Connor McDavid, while he has been playing strong, I don't think he has the opportunity to catch him. So we have lost the value in betting on McKinnon in this matchup or in the battle. But I don't know. Connor McDavid, there's still a chance. It's just not enough. If we're getting him at plus 500, maybe I'd look at him there, but at that value, it's just not enough when McKinnon is out to such a deep start in this one. If I can find my words.
No, yeah. But it's Joe, I spoke with Tom earlier in the show, and he said a similar thing. He's like, if I was getting a better number on McDavid, maybe, but with McDavid being so good and McDavid always being popular, there's just not enough value on that number. And again, McKinnon, back to minus money to win the MVP. He's going to be hard to catch. Joe, we appreciate it as always. Our NHL slate is off and rocking. Dave Showerpan's up next year. It's Game Time Decisions.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Where do we begin? Game time decisions on a Tuesday night. I'm Kevin Walsh with Dave Sharapan. Consig, we lob it to you. What are you looking at here? It's an interesting Tuesday card.
Oh, big day today. There's a lot of things going on. There's one thing that I know is not happening. It's Hofstra basketball. They're not playing.
Oh,
I mean, it was in our ear yesterday. There was a lot of things. A lot of guys I know kept telling me, Hofstra this, Hofstra that, Hofstra's out.
Right.
So I'm not looking at that, but it's a fun day. In Vegas, the buzz is a little bit about the Zags in St. Mary's tonight. Huge steam on Zags. Can't say I blame them after what they did last night. Again, this team's rolling. Huge hockey card. I mean, this is part of my, we do Bostonian versus the book. We do favorite thing about today to end every show. The favorite thing about today on this hit is the Kevin Walsh hockey. I don't see it coming. Hockey guy, K-Dub play of the day. I mean, I know you got something. It's a huge card of hockey tonight.
There's still a tendency to, when we're coming off of a loss, to banish the sport for a day.
Oh.
Zibanejad last night scores, no assist. In a low-scoring game, we had the assist, not the point. The point was too expensive.
But you had a point.
Was a winner, though. The point was a winner, though, so maybe it wasn't too expensive.
Yeah.
If I had to eyeball it, hold. If I had to eyeball it,
yes.
I think I'd lay it with the Avs, but it's so expensive. If I had to eyeball it, that's what the eyeballs tell me.
For the people, Wild in regulation, just against the Coyotes. It's against the Coyotes. Right? What's that?
Because the minus number on the Avs is too strong, I guess do the regulation thing and then the game will go to overtime, and then that'll be a whole ton of fun.
I don't like the way you're even thinking. That's not positive thought at all. That's not good. No, I don't want to hear that.
I've seen it happen to a fellow hockey guy with Toronto a few times, and it's just here's the thing: if you prepare yourself, you can't get hurt as much. You can't get hurt as much. You know what I'm saying? Man, so let me ask you this, Dave. We went through a lot of conference tournaments today, myself and Coach, all the big ones.
Ooh, yeah.
And I know we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Here's one of the things that I've always found very interesting. So my ACC picks are ugly, right?
Ooh,
these are what you explained yesterday, right? You're like, oh, thank God K-Dub helped us balance the books because people were only betting Duke and North Carolina. So thank goodness he just came in and bet Pitt and UVA.
Okay.
Both of these teams have double buys. Here's the thing, because everybody loves to beat numbers. I've seen this too many times. Both of those numbers will be shorter before they ever play a game. It's just how it goes every time.
Especially if there's an upset on the way to that game.
Yep.
They become a bigger favorite to advance, which you have to watch that in the room. You're constantly these conference odds because you kind of calculate the parlay out in your head. You go, okay, they're going to be 6 here, they're going to be 4 here, and they're going to be pick 'em here. Multiply that out with the money line correlation, and you're good. But then somebody upsets somebody in the first game. How was Miami a favorite today, by the way? Miami was a favorite today. Florida. Come on. The dog wins, and then the dog wins. And now all of a sudden, when they were supposed to be 6, maybe they're 8 or 10 or something.
Yep.
And now that price has to come down. So I like the thought process. Can either one of those teams win the semifinal game? Probably not.
I would say Pitt won at Duke this year. They draw North Carolina, but the fact that they showed they could helps a lot.
Okay.
Here's the dream scenario. Because I guess I should probably... Because the idea is we can all do this together.
Yes.
The dream scenario, of course, is they both win their quarter game, and then they're in the semis. And even if it's Duke, North Carolina, Pitt, and UVA, you take the North Carolina-Duke moneyline parlay for enough to cover the risk. And if that parlay loses, you will still have enough then in the title game with 15 or 19 to 1 to cover it up. And it's always important too. And Dave, obviously, we've done this,
for a while now together, and we've talked this through. When you make a bet, it is important to know if you are looking to bet to win or bet to be in a good position, right?
Right.
Like, I bet Auburn at plus 260 to win. Could I hedge, mate? I could. That's not the point of a plus 260, right?
No.
But the 80-1 A&M number,
Yes.
we're looking to win 2 games and then do some damage.
Looking to just get in position. That's a good way of saying it. Get in position or win. Ideally, you'd like to have the get in position, win, and then you cover up a lot of stuff. That's great. But I like the thought process. But there's so many games today that I thought when I looked at, I was like, all right, what are we doing here? Like what? I mean, Manhattan and Iona, I figured you might have an opinion about that game today. I thought that might be one that would come up. You're my Iona contact. Come on.
Well, so here's the thing. You know this, again, from doing all the shows we did, the 3 of us. DRS is this time of year the mid-major guy, right? He liked Iona. He told me he liked Iona laying the number. JY liked Iona too. Oh, never mind. I got to tell you another. I'll probably tell you off air about something different though. It's football related. It's something different. It's so funny how that can. But I'll tell you about it.
The wheels just went. You went somewhere really quick. You had to rope them back in. Iona, Manhattan. Stay focused. 8 more minutes. Come on, stay focused.
It's frustrating because I can't bet the MAC tournament. Like they'll hang the Big East, right, or the Big Ten, because it's like, listen, if Rutgers wins, we don't care, right? Seton Hall, like we'll pay you back. They can't hang here in Jersey or in New York the MAC because you can't bet on you can't bet on any of them.
Oh, okay. Wow,
So
I forgot about that little restriction.
Yeah.
Jeez, that stinks.
I could bet Iona Manhattan today here, but I can't bet on the conference tournament outright, which really spoiled my fun.
Okay. So Iona today, that's the play? That's good. What about Siena Niagara? That's a gigantic number.
Yeah, Siena's technically at home, one last stand. They're one of the worst teams in college, which is tough. I would say, look, if you are in a state where you can bet the MAC tournament odds, I know that this will, of course, will sound incredibly biased because I went to Iona, but I mean, it has been like 7-8 years since anybody went to the tournament that wasn't Iona.
Right.
Literally. I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, Pitino. Like, no, he didn't do anything other than what we were accustomed to already at the school. Just being honest. That's the reality of it. The one thing he did was beat Bama. But that Bama team last year, 2 years ago, lost everybody. So it was different. It was way different. Here's what I was going to tell you. I'll tell you on air. I'll change the language around.
All right.
You know how sometimes I tell you I get text messages? And
I love these. Love these. Yes.
You know, from
Of course. Yeah.
So this is from a different person than the usual person.
Okay.
But it feels like the same vibe to me.
Love it.
And it said, there was a conversation today with all the quarterbacks, and this is around Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. They should stay with Fields. Ben saying Williams won't be the clean version is any good. Never been more sold on Caleb Williams. Might win MVP year 1. That's where I'm at after reading that text. That's where I'm at after reading
a definite now going to the Bears and at least rookie of the year market, right? Like, I mean, that's a done deal. After that, I don't know about we have to go all the way to the MVP, but that information right there, you only get right here. And there's certain groups that you get texts from. When K-Dub tells me about these group texts and his information, that's better than Shefty information. That's better than our own Adam Kaplan information. Like that's really good. How about the Big Sky, K-Dub? Montana State, Montana, money line. I mean, just get this thing to the final. This is quarters. This is winners, right?
So here's what I looked at. I looked at because Montana, the 2 favorites are playing on a back-to-back.
Yes.
For whatever reason, and I can't apply any context aside from this, but basically, and it's true of the whole conference, anybody in that conference that played on a rest disadvantage covered. So I thought maybe NBA style, you'd be getting juice on flipping it the other way, right? Extra rest day, little more pop to it. That's not how it looks. So I think you're probably right. You'd moneyline the favorites there.
South Dakota State at the 9.5, I thought was tempting. They pummeled Denver recently before the season ended.
They did. That's right. A lot of chalk today.
You
This
know,
is a very chalky day. A lot of teams are punching their tickets or
Merrimack.
these are semifinals. It's a lot of chalk today. This is one of those days. I feel like it's a setup
McNeese
up to the
isn't
weekend.
messing around, man.
Right?
This McNeese team is not messing around. They're cracking Lamar.
McNeese
Relatively
is
to
not
Lamar's
messing
decent.
around? Really?
They're up 20. They're up 20.
Wow. Okay.
Again,
Stony Brook's hanging. You see this? Stony Brook won't go away.
No, this Charleston team's no good. Here's the thing, and I'm trying to build a little list for myself.
Right?
No, they're not. No, but it's them and then this Colgate. What happened to Colgate in the Patriot League? I haven't seen a Patriot League game in a decade. Where's the Patriot League? Did that finish?
They still play.
What's going on with the Patriot League, Messi? Now you just reminded me of something. I haven't seen a Patriot. I felt like I was betting Patriot League games. Bucknell. Where was juice every day? Where is this Patriot League?
Yeah, the Bison were always a good play in the Patriot.
Vacations in the Patriot. Oh, with the Lehigh, everybody's hot on the Lehigh. I'll tell you.
Lehigh.
Yeah, look, I'm trying to just build a list of how relatively dangerous I feel teams are that can pop out. Right?
Okay.
And Colgate is a bit of a dream situation because everybody knows Colgate, right? So when they show up on that 13 line, everyone goes, oh, and then we slam the 4. Dave, Bama laying 7.5 in that first round. It doesn't matter who they play. That Alabama team is going to absolutely slaughter whatever poor mid-major school gets that game. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, let me ask you about this because it's out west.
Yeah.
The USC team. I mean, this team got pummeled to death to win the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah.
Incredible. There was 45. It's down to 20.
Yeah, back to being healthy. But don't be too alarmed by that line move. You have to move it gigantic because it starts. So it's up. So a move from 45 to 25 is one bet, maybe two. You might move it by 10. 45 to 35, take a second bet, go to 25, tell them to stop or bet it again at a really bad number, and that's enough. So, listen, they looked good the other night against Arizona. They're fully healthy for the first time all season. That's the nonsense that you'll hear. I'll be at the games. I'll give you an on-the-ground report. I'll let you know. I'm going. Trying to sit next to LeBron.
They can't beat Arizona twice.
No.
They can't beat Arizona twice.
If I see LeBron, I'm going to tell him you said hello.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, if you could shoot him a text, let him know that I'm there. I know you guys are tight. So, just let him know.
We'll pass a couple messages along.
Thank you.
It's fun. He hasn't really watched a lot of USC hoop this year. I'll tell you what, they find a way to win this Pac-12 tournament. LeBron's going to be at that NCAA tournament courtside. He might coach that team, quite frankly. He might turn that whole organization around.
Stars
beat
the Panthers tonight. Stars.
Best bet on the way out.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. All right, good stuff as always here. Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you on a Tuesday night. Out tomorrow, back Thursday, with a lot of ramping up to certainly happen with those conference tournaments. Before we get to the best bet, my favorite conference tournament, NBA, we're live right now with the game with the Knicks and the Sixers. Knicks off to a hot start. We'll see if Philly can bounce back. I think they can. Celtics game against the Jazz, Tatum, right, over 14.5 rebounds plus assists. And then Chet Holmgren, the sweat of the night, over 3.5 first quarter points against the Indiana Pacers. Conference tournaments, if I had to bet one, it is the UConn Huskies at minus 135 to win the Big East. Best team by far. We know that. Best team by far as it pertains to this tournament. Who's on their level? Well, that would be Marquette, whose best player might sit out this whole tournament, and he might miss just the first game, and that could be enough to see Marquette bounce. Creighton, I don't understand they beat UConn at home. We're on the Blue Jays on that side. This Creighton team, for me, I don't feel like they are on the level of UConn. I know people think Nova can make a run. Here's the deal. If they make that run, UConn's laying double digits in that title game. Well, what about the top of the bracket? Providence doesn't scare me. Butler and Xavier, they don't scare me. I'm sorry, they don't. Seton Hall, St. John's, same situation. I think Hurley would love to beat Pitino at the Garden, and Seton Hall had that stunning upset of UConn once. They're not going to beat this Huskies team twice. Hurley has made it very clear, very, very clear, one of their main goals this season is to win this tournament, because they didn't last year, and they lost in the final to Marquette. They bounced back. They win this one right here at a minus 135 price. In the SEC, Auburn plus 260, Texas A&M at 80-1. In the Big Ten, we have Illinois at plus 310. And in the Pac-12, it is Utah at 18-1. ACC, we have UVA Pitt, 15-1 on Pitt, 19-1 UVA. And then in the Big 12, we're rocking with Baylor at plus 650. All covered. We'll keep making it happen with you every single time here on Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. In-Game Live is next. Good luck.